Is Axel Kovacevic the most skilled fighter of the new generation we've seen yet? There seems to be a lot of pain behind his character, and so far, he's made an amazing debut in the newest part of Season 6 of Cobra Kai. This is why Axel is misunderstood. Let's talk about his potential as a fighter, comparisons to Ivan Drago, and more. Let's recap on what we know about Axel so far. Not much is known about Axel Kovacevic outside of being the male team captain of the Iron Dragons, the dojo that is the defending champion of the Sekai Taikai. He and Zara make quick work of Cobra Kai in the first challenge, and it's later revealed by Sam LaRusso that no one has been able to land a point on him in the tournament. Axel's befriended by Sam after noticing his interactions with Sensei Wolf, and the two walk back to the hotel as they discuss their travel experiences. They are stopped by Quan and challenged to a fight, which results in a standoff with Quan until the police arrive. Axel and Sam manage to leave the scene, where the former develops feelings and attempts to kiss LaRusso, who makes it clear that she has a boyfriend. Axel then realizes that Miguel is her boyfriend and continues to eye him, even shoulder checking him at one point as he progresses through the tournament. In the semifinals, Axel leads the fight against Robbie 5-0 until a brawl erupts. Axel then faces off against Miguel, who he dominates until he realizes that Quan is attacking Sam. After intervening, Kovacevic defends himself against Quan, who armed himself with an unjangdo, and after blocking his kick, the brawl suddenly ends as Quan lands on the knife by accident. Let's first talk about why Axel is misunderstood. As seen in Dog in the Fight, it's clear that Axel was abused by Sensei Wolf. An early indication is when the Iron Dragons captains are making their way off the mat. As the sensei looks to Johnny, Axel avoids eye contact with the sensei. Wolf is the only one who makes Axel legitimately nervous, as he freezes and locks up when being coached while they practice. Even when confused about what he's doing wrong, he's hit as a result and still tries to please his teacher. Notice that Axel flinches when hit and cowers, waiting for the hits to stop, almost shrieking down, which is ironic given how tall he is. On the beach, it's revealed that Kovacevic may have been flogged or beaten with the stick, as he has fresh marks on his back. Even when Sensei Wolf is not around, Axel is still nervous and fears that he may pop up at any moment, as he's reluctant to talk about the kata he practiced, telling Sam that he's not allowed to speak to opponent. It's implied that Wolf has his student extremely disciplined, as he says, there's always time for training. Axel even goes as far as to defend his teacher when LaRusso mentions she saw what happened by saying, "My sensei wants me to be the best. It's because of him I never lose." This is likely due to Stockholm Syndrome. For those unfamiliar, Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological condition that occurs when a victim of abuse identifies and attaches or bonds positively with their abuser. This syndrome was originally observed when hostages who were kidnapped not only bonded with their kidnappers, but also fell in love with them. Professionals have expanded the definition of Stockholm Syndrome to include any relationship in which victims of abuse develop a strong, loyal attachment to the perpetrators of abuse. The fact that Axel defends Wolf also supports this theory, as these signs would be considered appropriate for his situation. Positive regard towards perpetrators of abuse or captors, little or no effort to escape, belief in the goodness of the perpetrators or kidnappers, appeasement of captors. This is a manipulative strategy for maintaining one's safety. As victims get rewarded, perhaps with less abuse or even with life itself, their appeasing behaviors are reinforced, and learned helplessness. This can be akin to, if you can't beat them, join them. As the victims fail to escape the abuse or captivity, they may start giving up and soon realize it's just easier for everyone if they acquiesce all their power to their captors. To me, this sums up the teacher and student relationship between Wolf and Kovacevic to a T, and as myself a former victim of abuse, unfortunately I have seen it firsthand. Because Sam is likely one of, if not the only person who has ever shown him kindness and concern, Axel develops feelings for Sam rather quickly as he starts to get angry when they are confronted by Cobra Kai, and is also why he intervened after he saw Quan attack Sam. However, because Sam is romantically unavailable, this has caused him to become extremely angry towards Miguel, resulting in shoulder checks, stares where his nose twitches, and him shoving Diaz. Again, this is because Axel appreciates Sam for showing concern and wants her for himself. I suspect this will be further explored in part 3, as we know the Sekai Taikai is being moved to California from Barcelona. Let's also talk about Kovacevic's potential as a fighter. The Iron Dragon captain stands out, like Sean Payne, because of his heightened strength. Not only that, he almost has a perfect mastery of both offense and defense, as noted by the Miyagi-Do senseis. As I talked about in my latest video on Quan, Axel also poses a new challenge for Miyagi-Do, his reach advantage that allows him to defend and counterattack with ease. Due to Sensei Wolf's strict training regimen, Kovacevic even dodges the 2-on-1 assault with ease from Kwon and Yoon Do-jin. He's also able to block Jae-sung's assault in Ungjang-do, showing that he has amazing hand speed as well. There seems to be some grappling experience he possesses, as he was able to slam Kwon, Yoon, and Miguel. It should be also noted that even with their enhancements, Tiger Strike was still no match for Axel. However, there has been someone who has been able to land a hit on Axel, Yoon Do-jin. Although Axel anticipated it and Yoon tried to do it out of surprise, it did little to faze him. Debatably, in the final episode, Kwon may have landed a hit as well, but due to the camera angle, it's hard to confirm. The only clue given is that Axel winces, but that may have been because he blocked the strike in time. I'm very curious to see what strategies are going to be needed to be used, because it's shown in Cobra Kai Inside the Dojo Part 2 that Robbie manages to land a kick on Axel. This means that he's not completely invincible, and when Robbie was told to focus on defense, Axel no longer could land a point and grabbed Robbie in frustration. As some people have pointed out, let's briefly talk about the comparisons between Axel Kovacevic and Ivan Drago. While it's not clear where Axel is from, some assume that his last name is Slavic, so like Ivan, he could be from either Russia or a country close by. Both have stoic, intimidating demeanors and are considered champions in their own right. Ivan is an amateur boxing champion during the events of Rocky IV, and Axel is a defending champion under the Iron Dragon Dojo. Both are noted for their power and height, towering over their opponents typically. Like Ivan, Axel has rivals that hail from the US. Both are being manipulated in some form. Kovacevic is being used by Sensei Wolf, while Ivan is used by the USSR to help prove that his country is the best in the world. The two fighters have thrown punches that have instantly downed opponents, and also punches that have bloodied their opponents. And unfortunately, both were involved in the death of an opponent, but for Axel, it was an accident in self-defense. So the main question is, what happens to Axel in Part 3? As I've talked about in previous videos, what we know so far is that because the fight never finished between Robbie and Axel, the Sekai Taikai is being moved from Barcelona to the US, specifically at the All Valley Arena, and I assume the match is going to continue. Though training or somehow knowing a weakness Axel has, Robbie is able to land a kick, something he couldn't do in their initial encounter. Regarding his fight with Kwon, as I've stated in previous videos, I don't think Axel would be at fault for anything, as he was defending himself in this situation. However, I think he may feel some regret, as there was shock on his face when realizing what happened after the fact. One thing that's interesting to note is that the quiver motif was playing in the background when he intervened to save Sam and Robbie. I don't think he will join Miyagi though, but at this point anything is possible for speculation, but I would love to see him turn on Sensei Wolf and fight back against the abuse he suffered. It will be interesting to see how Axel adjusts to the valley, but his arc is something I'm looking forward to. Here are my final thoughts on Axel. Axel is what I believe to be what Sean would have been like if he had joined a dojo. Given how Mr. Pain was a fan favorite that many people wanted to see back in the show, I think Axel not only fills that role well, but also brings a unique story. Dealing with a harsh teacher who physically abuses his student and is doing what he can to please his master. I can't wait to see what other fights he will be part of, as he's a force to be reckoned with. Until then, we can only wait and see how his story plays out in Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 3. Speaking of fierce warriors, one cannot forget about Kwon Jae-sung. Truly embracing Kreese's philosophy, the Heartless Cobra met a dark fate in Season 6 Part 2.